Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart when it comes to the medium of video games, and that is the subject of physical editions, which are basically going the way of the dodo as we hurtle at breakneck speed into the future of digital-only video games, where you'll essentially own absolutely nothing. Even though technically speaking, whenever it comes to physical editions, you also don't really own them. You are technically, you are granted a temporary license, but the fact of the matter is, if you own a video game, unless, it somehow gets damaged, like the cartridge no longer works, or the CD gets broken and damaged and no longer works, you can pretty much play it in perpetuity so long as you take good care of the hardware where that game runs on. And this is something that I'm particularly passionate about. I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures here of recent pickups that I've gotten, simply because I'm not home. Otherwise, I could show you like the stack of boxes that I have of PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, friggin' Switch, and a bunch of other games that I bought physical, because it's important for me to be able to preserve these video games in order to be able to play them in the future whenever these big publishers decide that time has come to close those stores. And I'm going to be giving guys specific examples of where this has already happened. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that I want to ask from you is, if you have seen a news of a game that you really care about that's been delisted from a digital storefront, I'd like you to leave a comment section down below, so that people understand that this is not just something that some of us just, scream into the void every now and then. It's like, oh my God, we want to have physical editions because we need to preserve it. People think that, oh, things are digital, they're in the cloud, they're there forever. So if you have a specific example of a game that you care about and you've seen delisted from the store, leave it in the comment section down below. I'm going to be talking about some of my own examples, but like I said, we're going to be starting things off with a couple of pictures, and there is a point to this. So recently I picked up Metroid Prime, also picked up Octopath Travelers 1 and 2, picked up Final Fantasy 16. I mean, come on, baby. Are you kidding me? Picked up the Xenoblade Chronicles collection. I have plans to pick up a couple of more games. It's been a really busy time during August. Like I've said, I haven't even had time to actually search the internet properly for some of the other things that I want to pick up, like Armored Core 6 and a couple more games that I need to pick up in physical form, simply because eventually, the servers are going to die. Now, an important thing about these games that I picked up here that I would like to point out to you is, I have a digital version of this game, which, because I received the code from Nintendo, they sent me a code for Metroid Prime Remastered so that I could do some coverage. I have a code for Octopath Traveler. I never did request a code for Octopath Traveler 2 because I knew I wasn't really going to have time to cover it, but I could have easily gotten a digital code for Octopath 2 as well. Naturally, I received a digital code for Final Fantasy 16 for all the coverage that I've been doing. I received the code from Square Enix, and I received the code from Nintendo for all of these Xenoblade games that you see in this picture. But naturally, I still wanted to preserve these so that I could play them at a later date, even if, the eShop for the Switch goes offline like 10 years from now or something like that. I still have the physical copies. I can still play them, even though there are some problems when it comes to the Xenoblade game specifically, because, for instance, Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade 3 have received a ton of post-release content. That is content that naturally is not present in these cartridges. I almost wish that you could, as this content gets released, can I just write the content into the cartridge so that it gets preserved into perpetuity? But at the end of the day, when the servers go down, even if I don't get to play that content, I still at least have the base experience of these games that I can play. I have them in a playable format. Hell, we could have an apocalypse tomorrow where there's no internet for anyone, and I can still play these games. That is important for me. And you need to understand, I lived a large portion of my life without having a stable internet connection. I understand that nowadays, everybody from the current generation, like you guys, have grown to have the internet, and it's just this thing, you don't even think about it. It's like water. It's like water or electricity. It's just a thing that you have. It didn't used to be like that, okay? And I'm still very suspicious of when the time comes that, some random Portuguese ISP decides, you know what, that's enough out of that goddamn bastard. Screw him, and they cut the internet. Because, every now and then, internet keeps dropping over here. So it's just not reliable enough for me to really rely on digital-only releases. And this is something that kind of the wanting to make this video began brewing inside of me when I noticed this. Now, Alan Wake 2 is not even a game that I'm particularly interested in. I didn't really play Alan Wake 1. I think the game is probably fine. I hear a lot of good things about it, so I'm sure it's a really good game, but it just doesn't sound like the type of game that I would be interested in. But them releasing this game as digital only is something to me that it's like, it really illustrates where Microsoft is going with their titles. Now, Microsoft has the Game Pass service, and you've always heard me talk, I think that Game Pass is extremely good value for consumers. I do. That's no question about it. I mean, you pay however much the fee is nowadays, and you get like hundreds and hundreds of games, and you can choose whichever ones you want, and you can play them. That's whatever. But I've also always said it is a service that is not for me. I am not interested in the Netflix of video games, because games come in, games come out, and and I know that you have like some discount or whatever if you want to buy a game before it leaves the service, but trying to keep track on all of that stuff, which games enter, which games leave, is like, no, listen. For starters, I don't even buy that many digital games unless I absolutely have to, but even if I did, I want them available to me whenever I feel like playing them, as opposed to whenever they happen to be there. I'm just not interested in the whole Netflix aspect of gaming. I'm interested in owning the game, playing the game when I want to, not playing the game when I don't want to, and moving it that way. Not to mention, it's kind of weird to me that it's like, it's digital only because it gives Remedy more time to polish. You don't want to go gold. You're like, oh, we need every single little inch to be able to... It's just weird. Look, I think that this is inevitable. I'm just a big boomer screaming to the internet. It is what it is. It is inevitable that we're going to be moving towards a digital-only future, but I'm going to be grabbing onto the physical editions for as long as I possibly can, because it is important to me. But this was kind of like the beginning. Now, recently there was this thing that was posted by Microsoft, and Mutahar actually kept it because apparently Microsoft regretted having posted this, and so they deleted their tweet. But I'm just going to show you guys a little bit about this,
guys and gals,
the beginning of this Mutahar video, so that you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Microsoft is a danger to the video games industry. I'm ripping the Band-Aid right off. No,
I agree.
It's not like clickbait or a wild opinion. Microsoft, for the last couple years, has been directly harming the physical gaming marketplace, okay? And the reason why I'm making this video is because Microsoft decided to kind of twist my nipple a little bit, if you will. They made a post on their actual Microsoft Store account yesterday, which they actually deleted because they got...
This is the post that I was talking about, by the way. I couldn't even find this stuff online. Luckily, we have Mutahar here to get our back by keeping this stuff up. But like, look at this. It's like, less space, more games. Yes, please, Game Pass. So it's like their idea is, oh, you don't need to own anything. You don't need to own any physical media. Look, it's all here. It's all digital. It's great. Isn't it fantastic?
Ratioed hardcore. I ended up ratioing Microsoft. I'm not saying that's the reason for them deleting.
Like, look, this was the damn it, it didn't show.
But it's also because what they showcased was entirely, in my opinion, false advertising. Now, I'm sorry for the guerrilla style videography. This is me recording my phone screen simply because this post doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
But here Microsoft is touting, whoa, gaming back in the old days? Filthy. They had to whip out the physical disc binder.
Okay, look, I'm not that interested in the games that are shown here except Halo. Halo's pretty good. But like, I actually want to go back to this. Unironically, I want to go back to this, dude. Take me back. I don't want this all digital future. I want to know that I own these games and they're safely stored somewhere and I can get them, because I don't trust any of you goddamn companies to keep your servers up. We're going to be getting into that.
And rip out games one by one. Look at how cool Game Pass is. You can just download and play without getting off your ass.
Anyway, I'm gonna leave a link to this video in the description if you guys want to watch the whole thing, and you should. There's actually 2 videos in his channel about this particular topic. One of it also addresses the the recent Xbox leaks with the FTC and all of that stuff. So pretty interesting stuff, and in general, I love watching Mutahar's content. He does fantastic content. But anyway, so basically, Shortly after this tweet was posted, Mutahar was memeing on them. It's like, yeah, no, I own those games on a disc, and also those games aren't even on Game Pass. And we have this dude over here. I'm so unbelievably tired of these 40-year-old crybabies, bro. Shut the fuck up. If you want to cling to antiquated media because you own something you don't own and have never owned, and it's more convenient despite proven fact that it isn't, that's fine. You see, this is all fine and dandy except for when eventually the servers do fucking shut down and you no longer have support to your goddamn games. But that's fine for a lot of you out there nowadays because you're like, well, by then I'll be on to the next thing. But some of us want to remember a lot of these memories that we have with a lot of these games, and it is an important thing. So, Muta then follows up, you're crying like a little bit, the usual stuff that we get on Twitter, the usual type of interactions. But it's very frustrating to see people actually push back. Like, look, if you want an all-digital future, for starters, it's already guaranteed. Like, listen, your side's already won, my guy. Let us at least, let us try and fight for what we want instead of being like, oh, I'm tired of it. I can't fucking stand anymore. If you can't fucking stand anymore, get the fuck out of the internet, bro. Like, whatever. Anyway. Moving on, so this was part of the leak that recently happened with the FTC case of Microsoft buying Activision, whatnot. It was a massive leak, and it shows you the next Xbox, which it's called Brooklyn. It's the Xbox Series X refresh, the most powerful Xbox ever, now adorably all digital. I suspect that probably Sony has similar plans as well, which is it's a damn shame. Like, I don't know if that is going to be the case or not. I hope it's not. Like, the PlayStation 5 that I have is the one that still supports discs. I still cling on to discs with every fiber of my being, and I know that a lot of people are just going to call me a boomer or whatever. But it's like, I want to see what those people are going to say when the inevitable happens and the stores do get shut down, which, by the way, has already happened in the case of Nintendo, for instance. If you go to Nintendo over here, we can see the closure of the 3DS and Wii U shops was inevitable, but it is still a tragedy. Now, you guys might be wondering, wow, they closed the store for the 3DS and the Wii U eShop? Yeah, they did. They're closed. You can't buy games on there right now. So you can still maybe find on specific stores and stuff like that physical editions of some Wii U games, and you're like, well, most of the Wii U games have moved on to the Switch, except for the soundtrack that you're listening on the background right friggin' now, which is Xenoblade Chronicles X, still not available on Nintendo Switch, which really friggin' sucks. I keep saying, Nintendo, release this goddamn game. It's timeless classic. I love it. But I can't get myself to turn on my Wii U at the moment. But I will at some point. I own the game physically, and I can play friggin' Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it's a fantastic game, and it's a goddamn tragedy, right? And this was in the case of Nintendo. PlayStation has also come fairly close to also threatening to close the stores for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, on which there are still quite a few really good games that you can't really get anywhere else. You want to get a really good example? When it comes to PlayStation Vita, you got Soul Sacrifice Delta, which you still can't get anywhere else, because Sony will not re-release a remaster of it or anything, or they won't sell the goddamn... Then again, nobody's actually buying the damn thing. Nobody even knows what Soul Sacrifice Delta is, and it's one of the best games ever fucking made! I'm sorry, it's just incredibly frustrating to see these games die off. And here's the other thing. When Soul Sacrifice Delta came out, it didn't even have a physical release where I live. I think there's like a physical version of Soul Sacrifice Delta somewhere in China, and that's about it. There's like a Chinese edition or something. I believe Gaijin was able to get one somewhere in Japan. And it's like, I can't even get a physical version of Soul Sacrifice Delta. It doesn't exist. So basically, I have my Vita with it downloaded to it, and I keep that Vita in pristine condition to make sure that if I ever feel like playing Soul Sacrifice Delta, I can whoop out the Vita, charge it up, and play that sucker, because I never did finish it. But yeah, it's extremely frustrating to see this, and the direction that Microsoft is going in just kind of like, informs me that, look, this is not what I want, because not only they're pushing for this all digital stuff. That all they want is more people on Game Pass. They don't actually want people to buy video games at all. They're just like, no, just buy our service. It's all about services, services, services. And I already said, I am not interested in the Netflix of gaming. It's not for me. I understand it's for a lot of people. That's fine. If you want to enjoy the Netflix gaming, you go right ahead. Hell, I barely even enjoy the Netflix of Netflix because stuff keeps getting delisted from there. And I know it's probably because my Portuguese Netflix probably sucks compared to Netflix all throughout everywhere else in the world. But, you know, it's still just frustrating to see the direction that we're hurtling towards. And the other thing is, this Xbox Series X refresh is just a temporary thing because right now you're still running the software natively on the hardware that they're selling you. So the actual games are still running on this box that is here. But if Microsoft has their way, the games are not even going to run on the box. They're all going to run on the cloud, okay? And if you heard me talking earlier in this video about how, you know, internet connection is extremely unreliable, I've, you know, throughout most of my life, all I've known is unreliable internet connections. You'll know just how frustrating that is because without a reliable internet connection, cloud gaming simply doesn't exist. You simply don't have it. And that's the direction we're going. We're not even just going towards all digital. We're going towards all cloud. And that is one of the things that the more I see about this information and the more I see about people just talking about, oh, let's just go all digital, it's so convenient. So, yeah, it's real convenient to just like, oh, not even have a decent gaming rig or a console or whatever and just connect to the cloud and everything's running on their servers until they decide it's like, hey, you know what? I don't like something that you did, so I'm cutting off your account. You're banned forever. They're like, but I have my library of 1,000 games on there. Well, that's too bad. It's gone forever now. At least if you buy a video game physically, if it is a properly made video game, not one of those that require like updates and all of that stuff in order to just function, you can still play it. It is still preserved. But you know, and then as we look further into stuff that came out this year, what is one of the best games that came out this year and is probably going to win Game of the Year? Baldur's Gate 3. Guess what? No physical edition. And you guys are like, well, yeah, it's a PC game. It's also available on it's available on PlayStation 5 right now. It's going to be available on Xbox. No physical edition. Now, when it comes to PlayStation 5, supposedly, I believe it already released on PlayStation 5. Japanese players will be able to buy a boxed version of the game, but only in Japan. So not really available physically in the West, which sucks. Absolutely sucks. One of the best games ever. Now, luckily enough, Steam at least has a better track record than a lot of, you know, Sony and Xbox, because at least Steam hasn't like shut down stuff from their. I believe that some games have been delisted on Steam as well, though. Yeah, there's delistings happening on Steam as well. So to be honest, I don't even know anymore. It's just a really this. Why can't we just have physical editions, bro? But at least I'll tell you guys what. At least when it comes to Baldur's Gate 3, it's also available on GOG without any form of DRM, which means that you can legally back it up into, you know, a Blu-ray or whatever, and you can have the game in perpetuity to work on PC, even if that is through some kind of virtual machine like 20 years from now, a virtual machine that is running Windows 10, you can still get Baldur's Gate 3 to work on that machine using a backed up copy from GOG. So at least in this case, there's a bit of a silver lining, so to speak. And then just something that was a bit of a personal frustration of mine, which is there were two games that came out this year that I still haven't bought because they only really exist in a digital form. And those two games are JRPGs that I really wanted to pick up for the Nintendo Switch. And I haven't really picked them up yet. I mean, actually, one of them I guess I have, which is Chained Echoes. So I bought Chained Echoes, and, you know, apparently their physical version is being handled by this website called First Press. And I seem to remember something about them saying, oh yeah, we're going to have like a physical version available in May or June or something like that. And no, that didn't happen. Then later they said, oh, July, it's coming out in July, and that didn't happen. And now they're saying Q3 2023. And it just says, what is this thing? Design is in progress and production is in preparation. These guys already have my money at this point, and I have absolutely nothing. And it's like, bro, I wanted to play Chained Echoes, but I want to have a physical edition. And you know, I guess eat shit. I don't know, dude. It's very frustrating. And in this case, I understand it's not the developer's fault because they're an indie developer and all of that stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, I just want physical editions, man. I just want physical editions. And it's like another one that came out that I really want to get. I want to pick up again a physical edition of Switch, which is Sea of Stars, is apparently doing something similar to what First Press Games is doing with IM 8-bit, and I'm assuming I'll have to like pre-order it from IM 8-bit as well or something like that, and then probably have to wait months and months and months until eventually I can get a physical version of these games. I'm probably going to end up buying the digital version. I'm going to bite the bullet because I do want to play these, but it's just, you know, it's just frustrating. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I'm sorry. I just needed to vent a little bit because I do feel like this might be the last year that we see any meaningful physical releases. Like, I feel like next year, probably most titles are just going to be like digital, and that's it. And everybody's going to be shouting from the rooftops about how much more convenient it is. And then 10 years from now, they're going to be like, oh no, where's this game that I really like playing? Oh, it's gone. Oh no, because we didn't preserve it at all. Now it's gone, unless it somehow gets preserved through piracy, I guess, because everybody likes to say that piracy is illegal, but nowadays it feels like piracy is going to be the only way for us to play old video games. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.